For a game with such a steep learning curve, the Star Wars Squadrons campaign does a relatively good job of introducing you to all the complex skills and mechanics that you will have to master if you want to succeed in ranked fleet battles. But with that said, there are still a good handful of things that the game either just doesn't explain well or doesn't tell you at all. Oh, what's up, you guys? I'm not amazing, I'm just mediocre, and we're here today to talk about some of the biggest untold tips and tricks you might not know about, and hopefully by the end of the video, you will have learned something new that will help you improve your fleet battle experience. Now, these are in no particular order, but they are all equally important. So let's start right away with something that I found out not a lot of people know about through a poll that I did on YouTube. I was asking people, what is one of the most embarrassing, terrible ways that you can pilot error in Star Wars Squadrons? And out of all of the potential listed reasons, crashing into your own hangar was vastly the #1 choice on that poll. Might go something like this. You're trying to fly in the door, you don't quite make the angle right, you hit off a bunch of the engine, you end up blowing yourself up, costing yourself those 15 seconds. It is terrible. Well, let me instantly alleviate that situation for you by giving you this tidbit of information. You don't gotta hit the door. All you have to do is hit that roof right there. The one that's the recessed area where the hangar actually lies. And it can be any portion of that recessed area. You can be boosting at top speed, hit that thing, and you will go straight into it. And yes, I was demonstrating that in practice mode, but here's a clip of me also doing that in the middle of a regular ranked fleet battle, getting that nice fly-in animation, choosing a different starfighter, and flying back out. This little piece of information has saved me from so many pilot errors, and it was the piece of information that kind of kickstarted this list. The next one has to do with our missiles. There's a handful of missiles that have lock-on capability, but you can also dumbfire them. What the game doesn't explain to you is that the dumbfire distance is actually different from the distance that it can lock on from. For example, here we have the concussion missiles, and it will start to lock on at 1,000 meters away, and then you can fire it once it locks on. What the game doesn't tell you is that the dumbfire distance of this concussion missile is actually twice as far as its lock-on distance. Watch here. I shoot the concussion missile from almost 2,000 meters away, and I follow it into this Star Destroyer, and it clearly makes impact. And this also applies to the Goliath missiles. Those also take 1,000 meters to lock on, but you can shoot them from 2,000 meters away. This can be really powerful on frigates and cruisers in particular, because Goliath missiles are fantastic for destroying series of turrets. However, this does not apply to ion missiles. In fact, it is inverse on ion missiles. I flew out past the lock-on range of the ion missile and tried to follow it in, but it detonated hundreds of meters before its destination. And after further conclusion, even from the point that it's supposed to be able to lock on from, the ion missile has a shorter dumbfire range than it does a lock-on range. I found out through further testing that the actual dumbfire range of an ion missile is roughly 1,000 meters. So this is definitely not one that you want to dumbfire on your target. Make sure you get the lock on if you want to fire that ion missile, but go ahead and dumbfire those concussion and Goliath missiles from 2,000 meters away. Now, speaking of ion damage, the game does state it's really powerful against subsystems, but I don't think it explains it well enough. You can disable most subsystems with your ion cannons, or any ion damage in particular. You can tell something is disabled, ionized, when it's got that blue lightning around it, and you will also see a little E icon pop up in the corner on your targeting computer. Now, if you manage to disable both shield generators, this is actually an extremely powerful move to do, because not only are those shield generators disabled down for a certain amount of time, but then they also have a delay play before the shields come back on. In this particular clip, uninterrupted, it was a whole 1 minute and 15 seconds of having the shields disabled on the Star Destroyer before they finally came back online, and even then they were down to maybe a quarter or a third of the total health of those shields. So do not underestimate using ion cannons against subsystems, but in particular against power. Power systems are the only subsystem that will be completely destroyed by ion damage. You saw me right there running up with some ion cannons and melt it relatively easily, and it will in fact fall to just one ion torpedo, where most other subsystems take at least 2 proton torpedoes to destroy. And taking out the power is a huge deal, allowing you access to shoot those cracks in the hull, taking out 7% of the flagship's health at a time. Extremely powerful to use these ion cannons, ion damage that way against the enemy subsystems. Now, another highly misunderstood component is the Chaff. Most people seem to think that it only works from behind, but it actually deploys in a radius around you. As you saw me right there, I disabled that missile as it was flying straight towards my face. And this is actually something I see a lot of people do to cover their own objectives. They will hover right above their frigates, cruisers, or even shield generators and deploy chaff to stop enemy missiles. Not only that, it actually breaks the lock. You can see right here I deployed chaff and it broke the missile lock. So if you time this very well, while you're flying into the enemy flagship, you can interrupt the tractor beam when it's trying to get you. But very important is you have to deploy this before the tractor beam actually achieves its full lock-on. Here you see me right in front of the tractor beam. I hit my chaff and I'm able to counter the missile and break that lock on the beam. However, I turn around and I'm not able to deploy my chaff before the beam grabs me, and so I still actually have to use a boost bar. You still have to boost out if that tractor gets you, and the chaff will not break the lock once it already happens. So skillful use can actually keep you from getting tractor beamed. However, I gotta say, one of the biggest features of the game that I did not know about for the longest time, that it never goes out of its way to explain to you, is the different kind of drifting you get when you have power out of engines. It explains to you in the campaign how to boost with full power to engines and a full boost bar, but it never actually explains to you that there is a separate kind of drifting that you achieve if you use boost and drift with your power, say, overcharged into weapons or shields, and it's called dead drifting. It allows you to strafe with your starfighter, and it's definitely something all the pro players use, and it's something you pretty much have to get used to and master if you want to rank up in something like Valiant, Legend, or Galactic Ace. If you don't know what dead drifting is, or if you know what it is but still don't know how to do it, then I suggest you click the video you see on your screen right now. That's my own guide on how to do dead drifting, and I guarantee you, once you start to master this advanced skill, it will completely change the way you play Star Wars Squadrons. Hope you'd see you guys in that video. In the meantime, I'm not amazing, I'm just mediocre, and I'm out.